to Chicago from Mexico at the tender age of 4. And like many of us, she has made this journey across the border to this city and is the first of her family to go to college. She is a beneficiary of the DACA program and is currently in her sophomore year at Dominican University. I don't want to give too much away, so with that, please welcome to the stage, Andrea Aguilera. Big round of applause.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Andrea Aguilera, and I'm here to share my story with you. I can remember the moment my mom, siblings, and I walked out of our small apartment for the last time back in Mexico City. I can remember the moment we were in our plane and my mom was crying. I didn't really understand what was going on. I didn't understand why we were leaving. I was only 5 years old when my parents decided to move to the United States. My dad was already living in Chicago before my mom, siblings, and I were. It had been several years since I last saw my dad, and I remember I felt super excited to see him again. Everything felt so right, as if we were all going on a big family vacation. At the moment, I wasn't aware that leaving meant we weren't coming back. It didn't take a few hours to arrive to Chicago. It took a trip to Tijuana, Mexico, a trip crossing the border, a trip to California, and finally a trip to Chicago. Even though I was young, I remember what it was like crossing the border. My 11-year-old brother and I went first, without our parents, alone, with 2 strangers. We got in back of the stranger's car, and as we got closer to Border Patrol, they instructed us to pretend as if we were sleeping. As a little kid, I took it serious and I actually did fall asleep. I remember being woken up by a light shining bright both at my brother and I. It was the officers checking who the 2 young kids in the back were. There was no problem after that and they let us go. My mom and 9-year-old sister, however, both had to cross the border separately and alone. After we had all crossed the border safely, we reunited at my aunt's house in California. Arriving to Chicago was one of the most exciting moments. Not only had my dad bought us some delicious barbecue roast for dinner, but we were all finally reunited as a family. I had a pretty typical childhood. I went to a school right across from my house in the West Town neighborhood. I had friends. Some were different skin tones and some were different ethnicities, but none of that mattered. We were all young kids in school together and playing with each other. There were no real differences. I didn't understand what being undocumented meant yet. My brother and sister were also in the same situation, and it wasn't until my brother's senior year of high school that I began to learn what being undocumented meant. It was my parents' first time dealing with college applications and scholarships. Everything was new to them, and of course, it was a little bit scary. Thankfully enough, in my brother's case, he was recognized for his academic excellence, and through Erie House, he received a full ride to Dominican University from a private donor. Unfortunately, my dad lost his job while my brother was in school. Since my brother was the oldest of my siblings, he took on the responsibility of working to financially help my parents. It became too hard for my brother to work full-time and go to school, forcing him to drop out. For my sister, a few years later, things got rough. She had a counselor tell her that she wasn't going to make it into college because of her status. The counselor would ask my sister to sit out during a class that was supposed to help seniors with financial aid and college applications. I think that was one of the moments when it hit me. I learned that being in our situation was not easy at all. I couldn't believe that there were such cold-hearted people out there. My sister was only able to complete her first year of college because it became impossible for her to pay out of pocket, forcing her to drop out. To this day, she still owes money and is not able to receive her transcript in order for her to transfer and finish her degree. As I grew older, I became more and more aware of my situation. I began to realize the differences between my classmates that I couldn't see as a young little girl. I attended Ogden International High School. The school was mostly recognized by their international program. The program arranged international trips throughout the school year to countries such as France, students to study abroad. Many of my friends would make plans to travel abroad with the program, and whenever they asked me about it, I would make up any excuse as to why I wasn't going to travel, even though deep down, I was dying to go on one of these trips. I worked really hard throughout my high school career while always being completely aware of my situation. By my senior year of high school, I had obtained a 3.5 GPA, was part of the National Honor Society, the National Arts Honor Society, I've been part of the junior girls varsity volleyball team and varsity soccer team. I took all the honors and AP classes that my high school offered. I managed to do extracurricular activities while still working 2 jobs. Senior year was difficult because I didn't have the whole idea of college figured out yet. I'd done everything I needed to do to prepare, and yet here I was feeling stuck. I knew that I had to go to college. I wasn't giving myself any other option. When decision day came, my school made every senior make a PowerPoint slide with the school we were going to attend. I was so confused at the time because I didn't know where I was going. I didn't know if I was going to go to community college or to any of the other colleges and universities I was accepted to, because I couldn't pay for any of them. I felt pressured that day, so I put a picture of myself, a UIC logo, and the logo for the STAR Scholarship on the PowerPoint slide. None of the information was true. I didn't know what I was going to do. It was very frustrating because I didn't qualify for any financial aid or most scholarships. I applied to a few scholarships that I did qualify for, but because there aren't many for undocumented students, it was very competitive and I didn't receive any. How was I going to afford college? To be quite honest, I didn't go to school the day my high school had the assembly to show the whole school every senior's PowerPoint slide. I felt so hopeless at the time. I felt like all my hard work went to waste. The summer after senior year, things turned around. Josh, the director from Youth Options Unlimited at Erie House, who is also here with me tonight, called me because Dominican University wanted to recognize me for my work ethic and academic excellence. I received a total of $23,000 of scholarships from academics to Dominican University, my first choice of school. I finally knew what I was going to do. I stopped feeling hopeless and I could not stop jumping up and down from happiness. Without the support from Erie Neighborhood House and Dominican, I'm not sure where I would be right now. During spring semester of 2016 at Dominican University, I received more good news. I was recognized once again for academic excellence. I had obtained straight A's during my fall semester and made it on the dean's list. I was granted a $10,000 scholarship to be split throughout my 4 years in college. I've been so extremely lucky, and I can't thank those who have invested in me and in my education enough. I'm currently a sophomore at Dominican University, majoring in sociology. I hope to do a lot of community work to help those in need of it. I've been a mentor at Erie Neighborhood House for 3 consecutive years, and recently, I was accepted into the Dreamers Without Borders 2016 delegation. allows a large group of DACA recipients to travel to Mexico, reconnect with their family members, and learn about the history of their country of birth. Although I have been lucky enough to receive all the help I have and all the scholarships, the thought of not being able to afford school often crosses my mind. Tuition goes up every year, meaning more money coming out of my pocket. I was just barely able to pay last year's tuition. My parents can't afford to help, and I'm afraid that I won't be able to afford it on my own. The thought of falling behind in school scares me. I've come such a long way to give up and let money affect my education. I've taken on extra hours at work just to be able to pay my tuition and monthly expenses on time. I want to be able to make my family proud and prove to others que sí se puede. Everything is possible. But what if one day I'm not able to handle it anymore? What if tuition goes up? Will I be able to afford it on my own? Will I be forced to drop out and not be able to return like my brother and sister did? I've been so blessed, and yet I ask myself these questions. There are so many other undocumented students who have an even rougher situation. But thanks to your generosity, there is hope. Thank you for allowing me to share my story and represent undocumented students and their struggles. I really appreciate the support that everyone in this room gives to people like me and all the undocumented students as we strive for a better future. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Andrea Aguilera. A beautiful story. Congratulations, honestly. One more time, give it up for a great, great, great story. Great accomplishments, great story. We're so excited that you're with us here tonight. And we want you to know that tonight is, of course, very, very important. That $400,000 mark is huge.